You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Gene. Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's pay-per-view after show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's pay-per-view after show.
And I think that's our teacher's cue.
Oh. All right, let's take a little attendance here. Raven?
Here. Okay. Sir.
Daria?
Here.
Good. Jay?
Here.
Huh?
Oh, look at this guy with the apple.
Oh, no.
It's a gala, sir.
An apple.
Nobody likes to suck up, Jay.
Can we say brown noser?
Yeah. And Kris?
I'm here, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Let's get started with class today, fellas and lady.
Ah, thought you were gonna forget. What a gentleman.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 5 rounds, we go to the judges' scorecards for a decision. All 3 judges score the contest, 48-47, for the winner by unanimous decision and new undisputed UFC Welterweight Champion of the World, Johny Big Rig Hendricks!
Johny Hendricks is the champion!
Well, you heard it right there in front of a record-setting attendance for the UFC. They broke their own record, 19,324 at the American Airlines Arena in Dallas, Texas. Just witnessed, we saw right there.
Great reaction, too. Huh?
Yeah, historic announcement as the new UFC welterweight champion was crowned, of course, Johny Hendricks. And at last night's UFC 171. Well, right now I want to welcome everybody to UFC AfterBuzz. My name is Kris Kloss. To my immediate left, Jay Tan.
The brown-nosing suck-up.
Daria Baronato to his left, and Raven Travis Berry over here.
Nice to see you, Kris.
Oh, nice to see you too. And our very special guest in the studio, teacher, Mr. What you like to suck up to, Mr. Rich Franklin right here.
I know.
Got the apple there.
Crowd's going wild.
I know which side the bread is buttered.
Oh, is that organic apple? I hope so. You know,
It's a gala.
He's trying to.
Does he prefer professor or teacher?
We'll go with teacher.
It was
I didn't
Mr.
teach
Franklin.
college, so.
It's okay. Don't worry about it.
I just thought professor was...
First time jitters. UFC AfterBuzz jitters here for Daria.
Well, speaking of last night, UFC 171 did not disappoint.
No.
It did not disappoint. We saw 5 extraordinary matches. We're going to touch on some of those today. We saw Nikita Krylov, OSP, Ovince St. Preux get the victory over Krylov. Hector Lombard. You were talking earlier, Daria. We'll get into that. Victory over Jake Shields. Diego Sanchez. Miles Jury with an impressive victory over Sanchez. Tyrone Woodley. We were talking about him as well. His style. A very decisive victory over Carlos Condit. And, of course, we just saw right here a new UFC welterweight champion in Johny Hendricks in an incredible bout between him and Robbie Lawler. And I like the way those guys matched up. But right now, I want to ask you guys to touch on that Diego Sanchez Miles Jury match a little bit.
Yeah, we talked about that a lot, really, prior to the show. That was one, as you mentioned, Miles Jury won over Diego across the board, I believe. Two judges had it 30-27. It seemed pretty, pardon the pun, rich, academic. And one judge gave a round to Diego somewhere. I just thought it was incredibly close. I'm going to go on record here officially, and this may hurt my credibility. The first time I watched this match, I scored it for Diego. I gave Diego the match, probably by 29-28, more or less. I didn't think it was a sweep, but in the second viewing, I did see how Jury the whole let's put it, the whole conversation comes down to how you score a match, and what you give most criteria to, and by the criteria of whose face would you rather be. Absolutely for Miles Jury. I understand that. But I thought each round was really incredibly close. Jury was landing and did well. I just saw Diego wasn't the Diego that we have typically known in past years, but he was still coming in strong and aggressive. And at least the first round, I felt like he had the ring generalship around the cage generalship, excuse me. I don't want to say I eat crow, due respect to Miles, but to me it was a much closer match than what I heard a lot of people talking about.
Well, Miles Jury, he was very, I want to say he was very methodical, almost studying Sanchez during the match. And you alluded to that earlier on.
Right. I mean, watching it, Diego Sanchez comes out and he's fierce and he's aggressive and he plays, his mind games the whole fight. But Miles Jury had something so much more attractive to me, and that was his calm, cool, collective counter hits.
And a good head of hair, right?
And a great head of hair.
You were going for that.
Yeah, I was looking
Don't
at the hair. But no, he was calm, cool, collective, and he had accuracy in his counters. And like we said earlier, counters don't always win the fight, but in this case, I think it proved true.
I think also what we noticed was it wasn't the wild man Diego that we've seen in the past. And as
we saw little spurts of
we
that,
saw
but not
spurts
much.
of it, but not as much as he has been in the past. And something that Joe Rogan brought up in a lot of people from last night was that he's one of the original cast members of the original Ultimate Fighter, and after a long career, we've talked about this earlier, where he could be like on that Kris Lieben level, where he's taken so many fights and so many punches in those fights, and now we're kind of seeing the slowing down process. Maybe
and that would be early for at age, I believe he's 31, but for a guy like Diego that constantly is in any match of Diego's, you're going to get your money's worth. Diego constantly brings it. There's something that switch in his head that turns on, and he just becomes something of a Terminator, in the cage. And between that and how hard that I would estimate that he's training, when it comes to sparring and stuff like that, that'll take years off your fight life, and I'd hate for that to be the case for Diego. I'm sure he's got a lot of great matches still in him, but yeah, he was not, as I said earlier, he was not the Diego Sanchez that we've come to know and love in the past, at least not to the same extent with the fights with Clay Guida. I mean, even Gil, his previous match, Gil Melendez, and the other one I'm thinking, I'm blanking on it now, but it was before Clay.
You should have taken notes. The teacher's right here.
Yeah, right, sir.
That's
Pop quiz coming up, right?
Yeah.
I think last night, not to cut you off, he was almost playing a caricature of himself. He was almost
that face, right?
Just being what Diego Sanchez is known to be, but not so much living up to what he's shown us in the past. I think it might have been a poor representation of what he can do and what we've seen him do in the past.
Some days you're on, some days you're not
exactly.
quite as on.
I think that might have been all it was, but it just,
I'd be curious to get Rich's opinion on Diego in his the past several years, when he peaked, and has he peaked? Has he seen his better years already? I know, granted, we didn't.
This is a sensitive question you're asking me. You do realize.
In general,
yeah.
Diego as a case study.
Yeah, I don't know. A guy like Diego is, Daria said it before. He came out and he playing the mental games and all that kind of stuff. And Diego's been known for being that kind of fighter. But being that kind of fighter, there's also some drawbacks to that. Like Vitor classically has been the kind of fighter that's been talked about being that way, and you never. When you're on, and when you're not kind of thing. And so it could be the classic case of possibly that, or you don't know. You don't know if his best years are behind him or not. I'm a Diego fan, so it's hard for me to say like, oh well, his best years are behind him.
Right.
Well, I want to jump ahead to the next match, and I want to just mention too, we saw a lot of stars come out last night. We saw a lot of future
Absolutely.
stars, and they really shined last night. And what better night to do it again on the record-setting attendance for the UFC?
Right.
Over 19,300
And a vacant title.
And a vacant
It
title.
was a cool night.
Oh, you didn't mean the stars in the audience. Thought you meant the stars.
Oh, they're well, the Bull Riders.
The Bull Riders.
We're going to talk about the Bull Riders later.
The Bull
in
Riders.
Dallas,
It's
Texas.
Texas. Come on.
The next match, though, Carlos Condit taking on Tyrone Woodley. And this match ended, again, in decisive fashion.
Yeah.
I mean, unbelievable. And no slouch, Carlos Condit. I mean, we're talking about a guy who has 13 wins by submission, 14 by TKO. But these guys, to me, it was such an odd matchup, these two. You know, but again, we're talking about Tyrone Woodley, who got the victory.
Right.
Just just a beast, a pit bull. You know,
Yeah.
you were Daria, you
Yeah,
were
I
touching on that quite a bit.
I was comparing him and fellow teammate Hector Lombard.
Right,
And
right.
they're both amazing powerhouse fighters. They both have those knockout power hands. Even though Tyrone's background is in wrestling, he still has those heavy hands.
And both with big victories last night.
Yeah.
I might
Oh,
add, yeah.
huge victories.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Hector Lombard, those lightning fast hands, as they call him. But Tyrone Woodley, his stature is so broad and so physical and so athletic. And not to say that Carlos Condit isn't in any way, but the matchup was odd. You have someone that's slimmer, thinner, and against a powerhouse, wrestler like Tyrone Woodley. It's just anytime you see two opposing styles against each other, it's very interesting.
Yeah, I agree. And that match, of course, TKO in the second round. Did you Jade? I know I like talking to you about a little bit about predictions and how you rank these guys. Did you see that coming at all, or
No.
how did you envision that match before?
It was an ugly finish. I certainly didn't see that one coming. Much like we saw with Weidman and Anderson Silva. When an accident happens, an injury like that happens in the cage. I don't think anybody really sees that coming, or would predict it or wanted anybody. I did think it was going to be a really good competitive fight. And Tyrone, imposed his strength on Carlos and had him against the cage quite a bit. And was getting the better end of a few exchanges, striking. The thing that strikes me about this match, and also Diego and Ethan, we'll talk about the main event. It echoes back to the old the theme that you were talking about with star makers, or the stars that came out. Tyrone Woodley
in the Lone Star State. Mind you.
There you go.
See, this is something
Not
again
Lone
that you want to
Stars.
connect with. He's right here, your teacher. The grades are coming up soon.
I taught math.
We're correlating here.
Well, Tyrone Woodley now is I'd say a star in the UFC. His name is he beat somebody, albeit not the way that I'm sure he wanted to.
Right,
to
that's
win.
another thing too we talked about.
Right.
But he beat a top guy in the UFC, and likewise Miles Jury over Diego. These are established names, and people are going to start talking about Tyrone Woodley now in the title picture. I mean, he asked that in his post-fight promo there as well. So it was that night, and Woodley is a great example of that happening.
And did you, Raven? Did you see that coming? Did you? I mean, what was your thoughts about that match before too?
I mean, no one can really see an injury coming,
Right.
But as Jay said, it was almost on the same length of the Anderson Silva match, where it was. It sucks that you saw this
Freak
great fight.
accident.
Yeah, you saw this great fight that was going to happen, and it's just bam, this injury, and hopefully he can come back soon, because as everyone knows, Anderson is on his way back, in his mind, and it looks like he will be fighting again from an injury that people thought was career-ending. So I don't think we have a full injury report yet from last night, but I think maybe a possible rematch. Since it wasn't.
Well,
No.
You heard Joe Rogan ask Tyler Woodley post-fight, is this not the victory you wanted? And he responded quite controversially, saying, no, this is fine.
Well, I didn't read that in his body language, though. I think maybe what he was feeling and what he said afterward, it just didn't seem.
But he pointed out that the only reason for the injury was my great kick to the leg, which I could see.
a lot of people could see it that way.
Right.
As a fighter, it's like you take the win however you can.
That's right.
You know, you always
On
have
that
Dana
hand.
White saying, "Don't leave it to the judges," and to finish it in the ring. And
I think someone we could ask this question to.
Yeah.
Who doesn't leave it to
Absolutely.
the judges?
What does it do to a fighter, if anything, when you get a great victory, a big win like this was last night, but in the fashion to where a mistake happened, somebody slipped, something happened, and maybe do you take the credit? I mean, how do you go into that? What does it do for a fighter, being that they did get the win though ultimately?
I'll say this: fighters, especially myself, like you take that stuff a little bit more personally. When there's a slip or an injury
Right.
or something, you almost steal the victory from yourself. But let me tell you, if you look at any other sport, if I was playing in the Super Bowl and I was running a pass pattern and the cornerback that was covering me slipped, and I end up catching the winning touchdown of the Super Bowl, I'm not going to sit there and beat myself up over the fact that I just caught the winning catch of the Super Bowl only because this guy slipped.
That's a very good point.
Right.
Yeah,
Very
and so
good
I
point.
used
Shit
to,
happens in sports,
it
right?
does, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
You know, as a young athlete, I used to really beat myself up over that kind of stuff. I would go back and analyze tape, or would sit back in my locker room and think like, you know, I wasn't doing this properly and that properly, and it would be a great victory for me. But I'm my worst critic. But as I got older, there are certain things where you just say, a win is a win. A win is a win.
I guess so.
Right.
If you get a base hit and the shortstop made an error, you got a base hit.
Exactly.
You know, you know, so
Fate is fate.
yeah, and
Especially in combat sports.
I guess
Yeah.
I guess it's taken a little differently in combat sport, you know, but after all, in that vein, in that concept, you really have to move forward. I believe.
I think it's good for a fighter like myself to hold myself to that standard, you know, because then you're looking for I don't want to say perfection, but you're looking for a standard of excellence is what you're searching for.
Right.
So it's
Okay.
not a bad standard to search for, but you just got to remember, like we said, at the end of the day, a win is a win.
A win is a win.
Why is it that in combat sport that whether it's the fans, whether it's the commentators, the analysts, why do they knock that so much? Whereas, like, again, you're saying football, baseball, basketball, it's almost a non-issue, you know, when things like that happen. Why is that?
Team sport versus individual one-on-one.
Right.
I mean, in
I guess
the MMA, you're focused
Okay,
on
man.
two guys, and you see that happen. And I think also, too, MMA, the rise of popularity that's had in the past 10, 15 years, and you've seen a lot of that. I'm really curious to get your opinion on some things. I think the fans, well, MMA fans we know are quite rabid. If you're an MMA fan, you really are one. And so you tend to want to connect with the fighter, the good and the bad. And when shit happens in the cage, shit happens to you too. Whether it actually does or doesn't, whether you know the fighter or you don't know the fighter, you know, there is that connection. Whereas on the field, you're watching a ball sport, you're watching football. Myself, I can't barely even keep the numbers straight.
Well, I think from a fan perspective that a fan sitting watching a baseball game, I'll say to myself, I can get a base hit if the guy's going to drop the ball. You know, and much is the same. Like, well, you know, I could win a fight if this guy's going to get injured or whatever. And so the fans want to see athletes do something great. They want to see fights like when I fought Vanderlei Silva and I get dropped in the second round and I don't remember half of the fight and you come back and win the fight like that. Like they want to see that Rocky screenplay in real life happen. They want to see you do something that they can't do.
Right.
And that's the standard.
I mean, that's like Ronda Rousey's fight.
Yeah.
I mean, it was an early stoppage. Do we hold her because of that? Is she
Against
not
Sarah McMahon,
the
last
dominant
one.
fighter because of that? Is that now unfair to Ronda because she didn't get to prove herself and there might be a rematch? Or is it unfair to McMahon? You know what I mean? You can look at it so many different
I
ways.
think a lot of it goes back to what you're saying. It's when it's one-on-one, you feel that, like in a tennis match, if somebody slipped and you got the point, you wouldn't feel right about it. You know, one-on-one.
It's more personal.
But I want to fast forward to the last match of the night, the main event. Again, we opened the show. We saw it right there. History was made again in front of a record-setting audience. Johny Hendricks becoming the brand new UFC welterweight champion at UFC 171 last night. And unlike the Woodley Condit match, I love this matchup. I love the two gladiators.
Oh, you didn't like Woodley Condit?
Well, I mean, this was even. To me, it was.
Oh, yeah.
They matched up very well together.
Which is something we talked about before, because after GSP vacated the title and it was known that Hendricks should fight for the vacated title, we were thinking, like, you know, how do they pick to get Robbie in that spot.
True.
And, you know, he had some decisive wins actually on the GSP card. So, you know, it worked out that it was a great, you know, pairing for a great fight that went, you know, 5 rounds. And literally, you know, it was dead even going into the 5th round. And, you know, the 5th and deciding round was left right to the judges.
And I'll give a shout out, kudos to the announcers, because I can't remember if it was Rogan. I think it was Rogan, who right when the 5th round started, basically this is when both fighters have to pull it all out, and Hendricks knows how to do this. Hendricks is one of those fighters that knows when to turn it on, when to check himself, and all, and it blueprint. It happened,
and he did that because I think a lot of it was in his hometown, and you know that's the thing about, you know, UFC. It's hard to get a fight in your hometown, let alone a title fight, and then win that. You know, that's a huge step. That could be 2, 3, 4 years in the making. Whereas you're somewhere else and you win a fight, and you know, yeah, you may get the crowd victory or you may get the crowd booing, but last night you had 19,000 people behind Johny, and I think as we spoke earlier, it could have been what may be hashtag trending very soon on Twitter. Oh, Johny Vision.
Oh,
right.
You were talking about that.
I smell T-shirts. Hopefully the marketing department's listening. Johny Vision T-shirts.
Raven needs some new T-shirts. That's why he
I
wants
actually
that.
do.
He's going to buy a Johny Vision shirt.
Can I ask you?
Shout out to Mark Lehman.
What is Johny Vision? The exact definition?
I think we saw it in the 5th round.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
It spoke for itself.
Yeah, he turned it on.
True focus, yeah.
His corner called it. They told him to turn Johny Vision on. Whatever that meant to him, it applied, and he turned it on.
Also, something we noticed, especially since you know, this show deals with more than just what the fights are, it's the making of the UFC. We noticed how the cornermen are mic'd, and during, I think it was the 4th or 5th round, how Johnny's cornermen started to tap their mic.
That's
right.
So no one could hear what was going on, especially now in this era of new technology. The UFC Fight Pass, which is a cheap plug, so we can hopefully the UFC Fight Pass is on your mobile device, so you can, I mean, the other cornerman could be hearing what's going on by the commentator, so you know, tap your mic. And
well,
it's like we were talking about in football. I mean, there's lip reading in other sports, so this is actually them talking. So they're gonna cover themselves. And did you like that? Did you like seeing that? Because to me, it brought me back to a little bit of old school fighting the new establishment right there at that one moment. Like, screw this mic, get this off of me. I want to talk to my fighter, just me and him, you know. Well, and I like that. When I saw that, I thought this was awesome, you know. And it wasn't part of the pay-per-view. They want you to think that's awesome, but I like seeing that. It was real. And I liked it a lot, you know.
Technology is a loaded gun. You can use
it could
good
be
or evil.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, you're right. It's a double-edged sword. It was funny that it happened in the 3rd or 4th round, like you said, because it makes me think, what sort of intel is he getting in the corner that his information is being overheard? You know, is he hearing that then, or is he just randomly deciding in the 3rd, 4th round, oh, now I don't want people to hear? I mean, what was that deciding factor?
Or did it just hit him at that moment in time?
It could have. I'm not starting conspiracies here, but
no, but it's got to be one of those things,
right?
Yeah.
And it was funny. He's like, "I'm gonna whisper in your ear now," and it was an authentic moment. I think we all saw.
And I think it's something that you're going to see a lot more in the future. You know, on a lot of shows, you're going to see a lot of cornermen starting to do that.
Well, I agree with you, because again, it's like when one guy would cover their mouth in football, now everybody's doing it. Yeah. Everybody's doing it, you know. So I think that I believe that. I agree with that. Jay, I wanted to ask you about the main event and your picks, your thoughts going. I like to ask you again what you thought going into this match.
Yeah, Johny won by scores of 48-47 across the board, and to me the last 4 rounds were pretty straightforward. Hendricks, I believe, took Hendricks took seemingly 1, 2, and 5, and Lawler had 3 and 4. We've watched the first round, the whole match, but I've thought about the first round a lot, and seeing it a second time, it's still super close to me. There were some friends of mine on Facebook, talking about it being a robbery. I didn't feel like it was so much a robbery. I think the right guy won, but it was that first round was. Seemingly was a deciding factor, because the other ones were much more decisive. For me, Robbie's shots were more effective. It seems like he was landing and they were stronger. A friend of mine that I spoke with, who's also a very educated mind in MMA, noted that Johny was a bit busier with his hands. He also had him up against the cage, and that could have been the thing that tipped the scales in Johnny's favor there. Either way, it was a tremendous fight, and that's something. This new generation of UFC fans, I feel like every few years we get a new influx of fans. There's a lot of people that don't know Robbie Lawler's legacy. He's been around for such an incredibly long time. Had another stint in the UFC long ago as a kid, and then went and made his name known in Strikeforce and Elite XC. This new Robbie Lawler that we're seeing, in a matter of speaking, he's new to a lot of fans. Is the point, and I think that he came out a star just as much as any of the other guys on the undercard. Now the new fan knows Robbie Lawler, and they want to see him again. I think is the point. I think people wouldn't mind seeing a rematch there.
Yeah,
I don't know that it'll happen anytime soon.
I've heard the talk about a rematch, but it's one of those things where last night made a lot of stars and a lot of future contenders, and I think that's what last night's show was mainly about at the end of the day. So a rematch, I don't think it'll happen soon. Maybe if Robbie wins 1 or 2 more fights, which he definitely can, then I could see a rematch happening. So, sometime next year.
Yeah, I don't see it being a back-to-back rematch. There would have to be some sort of a build-up again. I want to talk about the first round, because it's funny, because we were talking about this, how there was really no winner besides the fact that Robbie's back was up against the cage the whole time. And it's an interesting thing that we were talking about. More blood on your face. The judges hold that against you. Looking more winded than the other guy. The judges hold that against you.
During a fight.
During a fight. There's so many factors.
The rule went the other way in this case of the main event. Yeah.
Not necessarily that he was getting beat worse or that he was getting dominated or controlled even, but his back was on the wall. And I think that was an interesting point.
Before we get to our next segment, with yourself and the gentleman who you handed that wonderful, nice, red, shiny apple to.
Mr. Franklin. I'm going for the A here.
A quick question for you, Daria. Who would win, Woodley or Lombard?
Oh, put the girl on the spot.
This is on the spot.
For those that don't know,
for those that...
our dear newbie here, the young Daria, former student at ATT, correct?
Yeah.
You don't have to answer that, by the way, but what a match.
No, she has to answer it. You put it out now.
Yeah,
this is the internet.
Just do an analysis.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do, Rich.
That's what I always do.
First of all, both two great fighters. I had more experience with Hector in the gym than I did with Woodley. He is a beast. He is dedicated. He is motivated. He is on his game. Same to Woodley, of course. Yeah. Oh God, I would love.
What a dream match!
That is a dream match. That
you
really
didn't get to see that in sparring sessions.
The
gym is the best time to see the dream matches because they never get done on paper.
She could be lying to us.
I'm not lying.
She's got footage of it somewhere.
Yeah, there is.
It would be a dream matchup. They are both two statured men. They are both. They have the thunder thighs of Greek gods, but so it'd definitely be a hard-hitting match. I would love to see it. But
I think that speaks for all of us. Well, Jay, I'm going to turn it over to you, and so you can get some extra credit.
Well, we're
points
here with Mr. Franklin, Rich Ace Franklin, UFC star, former middleweight champion with 2 very good title defenses. Not the least of which, probably one of the biggest highlight knockouts, I think, or highlight reel finishes in your match against Nate Quarry. Coach as well for Ultimate Fighter 2, and all-around company guy. One of the topics I'm very curious about. How are you, Rich?
I'm doing really well. Just so you know, this is not organic apple. You can feel the wax on it.
See, there's a Whole Foods.
I don't even remember where I bought it.
You know what? Go to Albertsons. But I think that was 7-Eleven. That's
more importantly, he didn't take the time to wash it because
I did wash it in there. Los Angeles water, by the way. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah,
you might be right, sir.
That might not be washing.
That's washed with LA water.
Yeah.
But there's not a worm in it.
It would have been cleaner if he just left it alone.
It's very contradicting.
No, I'll tell you what. You mentioned the highlight video. It's funny because I remember when I first had that knockout against Nate, and and they play it all the time on television, and I can remember seeing a highlight reel and seeing that feed through and all that kind of stuff and being like, man, that is so cool. And now, as you get to the later part of your career, I mean, there are two types of fighters in this game: the fighters who have lost and the fighters that are going to. And I've lost a few fights, and I've lost in a similar fashion. And so now sometimes I'll see those highlight reels when I'm on the receiving end. Yeah. And it's not so fun to watch that.
In reviewing, I was watching the Kung Lee fight earlier this morning. And,
I had to bring that up, didn't you?
But you win some, you lose some. You, if anybody, knows that. And, more interestingly, though, I think I want to hear, we were talking about the organic apple. Talk about Zealand. You've got a new
good segue.
Fruit juice.
Good segue there.
Fruit juice and smoothie spot in Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
Fantastic spot. It was there earlier, and plug the acai bowls.
Yes.
But talk about that. Being, you said, the later years of your career, and you've opened up this new venture, which is quite a departure from the rest of what we've known about the career of Rich Franklin.
Well, it's not really. The transition from fighter to owning a juice fusion cafe, whatever, makes more sense than the transition from teacher to fighter, realistically. Of course, if you watch like the first All Access that the UFC did on me years ago, I've been into nutrition. Like that's just been a key part of my game. It's a differentiating factor between me and a lot of athletes. I mean, I realize I'm a gifted athlete, but I'm not the best athlete in the world. And one of the things that I always talk to people about is that if you want to be better than somebody else, you have to have a differentiating factor. At the end of the day, I can be the most talented guy in my gym, but at some point in time, the most talented guy in this gym is going to fight the most talented guy in this gym. And what separates the most talented from the most talented? And there has to be something. And so I'm a hard worker, and I'm a smart worker, and I put time in not only on the mat but off the mat. And off the mat, the time that I put in, for example, is into my nutrition. And like I said, you could see that in the shows that I've done. So as I aged in this sport as an older athlete, like I had gotten into juicing, like juicing and blending vegetables and all that kind of stuff, and I'd been doing it for several years. And I really do believe that that's what had carried me in the latter part of my career, because it helps me recover from workouts. I mean, when I was 22 years old, I would put myself through a 2 or 3 hour grueling session that would just kill most people, and then I would run errands all day long and then turn around and do the same thing again later on. And suddenly when I was 35 years old, I'll put myself through a 2 or 3 hour grueling session like I'm 22. Yeah. But the difference is that now I'm like a battery that needs to go home and recharge, and without a good hour nap, I'm sunk. And so it's all about recovery and stuff like that. And so I got into this juicing and I got into this blending, and it really, really did help me, I believe, with recovery after workouts and all that kind of stuff. So the transition into Zealand in Beverly Hills, where the juice bar is, seemed to be just a reasonable
natural
progression. Exactly. And so it all made sense to me. So yeah, it's just my passion for nutrition, and now this is a way that I can share this with other people.
Is that something that your recipes or the menu and things are other guys in the UFC roster picking up on it? Are you reaching out to them? And
Not yet. I haven't done that yet. And I have a lot of friends in the business. I'm just one of those guys. I don't like to pick up the phone and be like, hey, Anderson, can you give me, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I'm friends with Anderson, and I'm the kind of person that would have no problem doing that for somebody else, but I'm just terrible about asking for favors. But at some point in time I will, and it's not just because I believe in my product. Like, I believe in the product that we make in the store, that if I can get that in the hands of some people, that they would say, oh, wow, this is a great product, and I can feel the difference if I'm drinking this on a consistent basis or whatever. But the whole menu wasn't done by me, because if it was, there'd be many more things that tasted god awful. I'll tell you what, when it comes to nutrition, you just learn that you can just tolerate bad taste for good nutrients, and so
I haven't learned that yet.
Oh yeah,
still love my takeout.
I think I learned that when I stopped by the juice bar.
What did we do? What shot?
Okay, we had.
Oh, but hold on though. We
black stuff that goes under my tongue.
Oh, the shilajit.
The shilajit.
Yes.
Hang on. Notes.
That is apparently a very powerful mineral. You would know more from the Himalayan. Okay. What is it from?
Oh, go ahead. You're doing good.
From the Himalayan mountains?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Okay, and the rocks rub together and create this mineral called shilajit. And
it's a biological compound. It grows in the Himalayas. It gets trapped in the rocks, and it's it's cultivated.
How is this discovered?
You're eating stuff
discovered it?
between
I don't know.
rocks. I
Yeah,
give you
I
an
don't-
apple. Granted, it's from Los Angeles,
Listen,
but I'm saying.
if you saw this stuff, first of all, you'd be like, "What? Are you're eating tar?" 'Cause
It looks like black tar.
It looks like black tar, like
Absolutely.
that.
It probably doesn't look like it's healthy for you.
Yeah, and it actually kind of tastes like black tar too. But you literally, like, you'll take just a piece of this, like I'll just kind of tear out a little piece about the size of a grain of rice, and I put that in. I'll put it under my tongue in the morning, and it's one of the most mineral dense substances on the planet. It has over 80 trace elements and minerals in it. So
and it's feeding your body the minerals you need throughout the day. Is that it?
yeah, and
Yeah.
It's like healthy guys chewing tobacco.
Yeah, exactly.
It's dip.
No, trust me, you don't want to keep that stuff in your mouth. The whole time you have it in there, like, if this would just melt faster,
Yeah,
it would be
it's
awesome.
a mixture between dirt and really strong espresso.
Maybe, yeah.
Wow.
It's
That
really,
sounds good.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
If espresso tastes like ether. But the thing is about it's something that you put a little piece of it in your mouth. It honestly dissolves after 30, 60
Yeah,
seconds,
it's
whatever.
not a big thing.
And it's not a great tasting thing. You do it before you brush your teeth in the morning and whatnot. But it's a good way to get your minerals, because you'll find, like, the soil that we grow our vegetables in is mineral depleted. It's mineral depleted because of the conventional farming methods that we use, because you're constantly growing the same thing in the soil over and over. This is just one way. And so you grow corn, and you grow corn, and you grow corn, and that corn is going to deplete the soil with certain minerals. So the corn that you have today is not as nutrient dense in minerals as it was, say, 30 years ago. So you have
Right.
to find other ways to substitute that. One of the ways is with the shilajit. We also have some sea minerals, the quintessentials that we sell in the bar as well. And it's like a little saltwater compound, and you do the same thing. You put it in
Right.
your mouth, swish it around, keep it under your tongue. It's a
Absolutely.
similar kind of thing, but it's all about getting your minerals in, because everybody says eat your vegetables. You get your vitamins and minerals. Well, there are a lot of vitamins, but you'll find that a lot of your vegetables, even organic vegetables, are stripped of the minerals that they would have had years ago.
Now, you have this store here in the Beverly Hills area of L.A. Knowing that you're from Ohio and so forth, do you think you'll expand and maybe have one in your hometown? Or
I would love to. I really would love to take this concept to Ohio. And listen, not everything in the store is like uber healthy either. We have some great acai bowls,
Yeah.
and it's not that they're not healthy, but to me, like, the acai bowl is a treat. And it's
To me,
like
that was my workout for the day.
Yeah, to the
Was
normal
that-
person,
Yeah.
these acai bowl,
I felt like I earned, a Big Mac afterwards. I was like, I get the acai and the Big Mac. They cancel themselves out, no problem.
No, but the acai bowls, it's a good treat.
Yeah.
But just on the juicing side of things, like, there are several different methods of juicing, and we do we do fresh juicing, and we also do cold press juicing. In the cold press juicing, we'll do, like, off facility in a kitchen, and then we bottle stuff up, and we use a hydraulic press machine, and it preserves nutrients longer. And we can talk about that some other time. But I was talking to my brother one day, and my brother asked me, he said, how much do you sell your juices for? And so one of our cold press juices is they're $9. And I'm on the phone with him, and I could see his face. Like, what?
How big?
We do 17 ounces.
Okay,
so the standard.
That's good.
Yeah, the standard in the industry is 16 ounces, and we do a 17-ounce drink, and we charge the same for our cold press as we do for our fresh made, and there are nutritional benefits to the cold press over the fresh made, and that's for another time as well. But my brother, he's like, $9 for a juice, and I said, and he's of course from Cincinnati, he lives in the Midwest, and I said, well, Greg, let me ask you, would you, if you were working one day and you stopped to get a lunch salad at a restaurant, would you pay $8 or $9 for a lunch salad? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, just so you know, it takes about 2.5 pounds of produce, a little over 2 pounds of produce, for me to make a 16 to 17 ounce drink, and it's organic produce too. So it's not cheap stuff. And he's like, okay, I get it. I mean, if I actually took a picture of 2.5 pounds of produce, then it starts to make sense. Like, okay, this is actually what I'm getting. Yeah, and you're getting it in liquid form, so you're getting all the
nutrients right to your blood. Right.
Exactly. So the one thing with juicing that you're lacking is the fiber,
Right.
and that's why I do not only do I juice, but I also do some blending as well.
Yeah. You gave this man an apple.
Yes. And I bet he can make a really good juice out of that.
some legit apple.
Well, I need like maybe 2 more of these, and then some celery and some other stuff to throw in there as well. But
We got a popcorn machine back there and a fridge full of Cokes.
I can smell that popcorn, by the way.
Yeah, we all can.
It's buttered.
It's
Wait till you
buttered
look-
popcorn
Oh, yeah.
for
Yes, it is.
everybody that's watching. Buttered popcorn.
Wait till you
Let
look
me
in
tell you it
look
is.
in the fridge and see what we have to drink. That's the best part.
A&W.
Really quick. I won't touch on this, but I've been getting into blending as well, juicing and all that, vegetables. And you said if it was up to you, it'd be some nasty recipes. Give me something that you would make for yourself that, let's say, somebody wouldn't like. Oh, that sounds disgusting and all that. You know.
Well, so I keep a personal stash of like oats and I'll do. I think my personal stash this time, and I vary it up. I do some plant-based proteins. I do some egg protein. I do some whey protein. But I think right now I have a bag of egg protein in the shop. So I didn't do this today because I didn't go into Zealand today. But yesterday I stopped in and I took a little bit of coconut milk, and it's not bad tasting. Well, let me just say this: I'm used to drinking it, so it tastes amazing to me. But it's not something that I would definitely put on the menu. But I took some coconut milk, and then we have this machine that alkalizes water, and I have some 9.0 alkalized water that I put into the drink. So I do about I don't know, 12 ounces of water, throw a few stalks of kale, some parsley, a little bit of turmeric, some
turmeric,
turmeric.
Anti-inflammatory,
turmeric and ginger, and turmeric's one of the most nutrient dense roots on the planet, and then I'll throw in a little bit of protein powder, some oats, and then we have just a selection of these Chinese tonic herbs that we use for our tonic bar. And so it depends on what the day calls for. Like we have one that's specifically designed for pre-workout stuff. We have one that's designed for post-workout stuff. We have like one that's a reishi mushroom extract, and reishi mushrooms are amazing.
Yeah.
You can
the powder too, right? It comes in powder.
But ours are actually suspended like in a glycerin base. And we can add them to any of the drinks, and so like I think yesterday I actually did some reishi, but I mean we have one that's designed for like stress or whatever, and it's just a bunch of different roots and herbs that are kind of mixed together and stuff like that. But I would basically like mix all that stuff together and just blend it and drink it.
You'd wonder like I mean, you talking about if this would expand, or talking about if this. Or if other fighters, and you would think something so simple like this, that other fighters, or just anyone in life would, but other fighters that need to recover, you know, talking about foods like ginger, turmeric and all that, and applying that to your diet. And these are foods that can help with injury.
Oh, absolutely.
They can help with recovery.
Absolutely. Joints,
all that stuff, you know. So it's to me, it's things like, I guess you could say that about everybody in everyday life, you know. Why are we eating McDonald's and all this? Why are we doing that when we know? But especially in your game, you know, with fighting and.
But I'll tell you, like, really, health is Western medicine just takes a different approach to health in general, and for me, like, I'll spend a lot of money on my food. Like a lot of people, my grocery bill is expensive because I buy premium quality ingredients. And fortunately, I have a juice shop here in LA in Beverly Hills. So when I'm here, I can just go. I go to my store and pick up most of my produce. That's there
pretty
now.
Convenient.
Yeah, but I'm still paying for it. I just get wholesale prices through my business. So it's not like I go in and get things for free. But no, for me, like health, I don't wait until something is wrong. I'm not a problem solution. I'm a problem prevention kind of person. And like for example, like I don't take multivitamins, and most people watching probably take a multivitamin. I'm telling you, multivitamins like are. I'll make a blanket statement, and it's not 100% true, but they're a waste of your money. But if you're going to do an alternative method, you need to get in your vegetation in a day. And I'll make a shake in the morning. Like I usually blend every morning, and then I'll stop by my store, or I'll bring juices home from my store, and I'll juice a couple times, like drink my juices a couple times that day. So it's real convenient for me now. But I would say in my morning shake, when I blend and I put kale or spinach or whatever vegetables I have for the day, I probably get in more vegetation in my morning shake than the average American does in a week.
I'd say at least.
I would say that's valid. Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm doing that 2-3 times a day. So that's where I'm getting my nutrients from. So people are like, well, what kind of multivitamin do you take? I don't. I eat real food, and that's what I do.
Right.
Yeah.
When I had that wheatgrass shot before I went to work that day, I was wide awake, and I can't drink coffee because it gets me too jittery.
Yeah.
I was wide awake, ready for the day, and I
but none of this.
That. No, not at all.
Yeah, exactly.
I was calm and zen at the same time, but I had the energy to get through the day. And it had cayenne pepper on top.
Yep.
It was really good.
It's
really
good.
And
and what did I tell you that drink would do to you? How did I describe it? Do you remember? I said it'll make...
it would make your esophagus...
Pucker.
Pucker.
That's right.
And it did.
Doesn't it?
It did, but it wasn't a bad taste.
No.
You had it with us.
Yeah.
Wasn't a bad taste.
No, it was actually good. It was. Yeah, I liked
it's
it.
kind of the feeling you get like when you put just a tad bit too much wasabi on your
on your sushi.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I love wasabi.
Yeah, but you love it. But then when you just put a little too much on there, you're like, woo, like it wakes you up. And that's what this shot. That's exactly what this shot does.
And I felt good.
When you compare it to coffee, it gets you up, but that only lasts so long.
Yeah.
This will last you the whole day when you do
Right.
this.
It's like an energy drink.
I think this is a good leeway into our little game we're going to play really quick about the shots.
Shots.
Mr. Franklin's shot game.
Yeah, well, shots.
So I don't have the list in front of me, but we've got a little game here
Right here.
where we've picked some U of MMA. I'm sorry, we'll talk about that later for sure. UFC personalities, and Rich Franklin and Zealand have their menu has a wide variety of shots, juices, and smoothies, as we've spoken about. But we're going to put Mr. Franklin here on the spot and give him, how do you call this? Rapid fire response
rapid
questions.
fire.
We've got,
Okay.
let's
We
see,
say
about
a word, you say a word back.
7 different names here, UFC personalities, and we want to know what shot would you give them and why.
Okay.
So here we go. First off, Dana White, your good old boss.
I'll go with the cough syrup because he and Lorenzo stopped in, and apparently, I think it was actually Lorenzo that was not feeling well that day, but he ended up taking the cough syrup and liked it so much he texted me later. He goes, "Okay, what ingredients were in that cough syrup?" So,
Lickety split.
yeah, I'm gonna go cough syrup on that one.
Doesn't hurt when you take care of the boss. You make him feel better.
The funny thing is they didn't text me. They didn't text me beforehand, and so then my manager calls me. He texts me on the phone. He's like, "Dana White's in the store," and I was like, I pick up the phone call. I call Dana. He doesn't pick up. Then I call John. I'm like, "John, is he in the store right now?" I'm like, "Yeah." And so I'm like, I text Dana. I'm like, why didn't you tell? Damn it, Dana! Like, tell me you're gonna be in here. So anyway, I told John not to charge him, and then he leaves my employees like a bigger tip than they've gotten combined in the whole time.
No wonder everyone's so happy when they're working there.
Yeah. So I was like,
It's not the vegetables, it's the
other green.
That Dana White
the other
tip.
great. Hey, let me tell you that
Good
improves
man.
health too.
Sure it does.
But yeah, so they love him now. Yeah.
That's
How
funny.
about UFC Women's Bantamweight Champion Ronda Rousey?
I don't know. Maybe. Well, this isn't a shot, but we have a drink called Beat the Blues. And just because she.
Because she's such a
beat
depressing,
Sarah
quiet person. Oh, because she beat.
because she beat Sarah in the last fight with a knockout for she actually it wasn't an armbar for the first time. So
Okay.
that's the first thing that comes to mind, I guess.
Yeah.
How about the voice, Joe Rogan?
Wheatgrass.
Wheatgrass it is.
A wheatgrass shot.
And the crickets in the wheatgrass, as we can hear it, no less.
All right. What about
The
the
protein.
George St. Pierre?
Oh man.
An empty shot glass, because he's not here right now. Huh?
I don't know.
Just saying.
The thing is that I if I could recommend something, I don't know what George is. George has been kind of quiet about why he's taking his hiatus, and so I don't know. I don't know what he needs at this point.
You
You know,
you don't know what juice loving to give
Yeah,
him.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly. So,
What about Cain Velasquez?
why Kane? Why Kane? What does Kane need?
Because he's big, so he'll drink 2 shots.
Yeah, exactly. I probably wouldn't give him a shot. I'd probably make him a smoothie, give him a few of my my gluten-free vegan pastries as well. Like
Just
he's a heavyweight.
Load him
I'll
up.
just give him one of everything on the menu.
The whole front of the story. Just
Exactly.
Take it all.
Or I could say maybe we have a juice called a quench. That's actually that I helped design. I designed that one. It has cucumber and coconut water in it and some other things, but it's a hydrator. And it's one of our cold pressed juices, and it's basically like it's a natural version of Gatorade, is what we
Oh,
how
I
we
wanna
do
try
it.
that.
Gatorade's not natural. Okay,
yeah.
Shoot, dang it.
Well, everything in it is natural except for the artificial coloring and the
He's going to name everything else in it. I knew you were going to
no, but high fructose corn syrup's natural because it comes from corn, right? Wrong.
Actually, I would buy that.
Don't buy that.
I see you're teaching
Touche.
right now.
Yeah, that's my sarcasm.
What about John Jones?
The champ. We'll give him the champ.
Oh,
There you
have
go.
to. Okay.
Now, what's in the champ?
The champ is the one that we had in the store that
Yeah.
day. It's a combination of wheatgrass, ginger, ginger root, lemon, and a little bit of cayenne with some sea salt sprinkled around it. And it's and you need a chaser for it. You do.
And finally, right now, Anderson Silva.
Well, you know what? If I would do something with Anderson with like some ginger or something like that, or some turmeric because it's good for healing, anti-inflammatory. But since he's Brazilian, maybe I'll do the acai bowl for him as well.
Interesting. Just a quick question. We saw your menu when we were there, and obviously the piece where we shot at your store is actually going to be on the AfterBuzz YouTube page in a few hours. How come you didn't name any of the shots or smoothies under like a UFC name? You know, like the armbar or the knockout, or, you know.
Well, so some of the smoothie names were named by my niece, and some of them were named by my business partner's daughters. Okay. So we had basically like about half of our menu was named by 10-year-old girls. And
that works.
But I couldn't get the rights for the Snoopy, right?
Yeah, but I thought it was kind of cool in that sense. But the thing is, like, if you're gonna name something like Armbar, first of all, we weren't going for like a sports bar type of theme, because the crossover is like people that would go to a sports bar wouldn't necessarily aren't looking for that kind of stuff, and then people that come into a juice spot would be like, "What is an armbar?"
And you're in Beverly Hills.
Yeah. Most people who go to watch the UFC on pay-per-view at sports bars probably won't be driving through Beverly Hills.
Or drinking that. They need the blue cheese. They need the buffalo wings. They need that. You know, that's what they. Come on.
Now you're just
listen.
judging.
I'm telling you though, the people that need desserts and stuff like that, our desserts. Did you guys have any of the desserts when you were in?
No, I had the
I'm
chia
going to have
seed
one
pudding.
if you can wrap it up.
Okay, so you had
so good.
Yeah, the chia seed pudding.
Oh my god.
But and that's a perfect example, and that's like a good treat that you can have just on like a regular basis. Like, you're not actually like throwing in the towel. Like, I concede to bad nutrition today.
Right.
You know, we have other treats like, and my favorite pastry that we carry. We have a vegan brownie. As soon as you say vegan, people look at you like, okay, tree hugger. You're weird. And it's funny. I mean, I go home and I talk about certain things like shilajit and stuff like that.
Right.
And like, this stuff does not go. Like, people are looking at me like, well, you've been out in L.A. What the hell's wrong with you, boy?
Right.
But no, I mean, we have this vegan brownie that's just it's truly amazing tasting, and it's one of those things like, if I'm having a sugar craving, like you know, I had a junk food day a few days ago, and I wanted some sweets, and so I stopped by my store at the end of the day and I grabbed one of the brownies and a few cookies and stuff like that. And when you're eating pastries that are made with premium ingredients like sugars that aren't refined and flours that aren't bleached and as much organic stuff as possible, and they're gluten free, and especially like this vegan brownie. I mean, when you think about it, the vegan brownie has no dairy, no eggs, no butter, no animal fats of any kind, and it is an amazing tasting brownie. Like, you wouldn't be able to tell. It actually tastes better than most conventional brownies that I've had, and so I just don't wake up the next day like, what did I do last night? Why did
yeah. Or even an hour after you eat.
I think I smell an AfterBuzz road field trip back to his.
That's right.
I don't mind that.
I think
you guys are open till when tonight?
We're till 5 o'clock.
Till 5.
No, you have to say your unique hours.
But that's during the week.
Yeah, during the week we're open 6:59 a.m.
I'm not getting up that early.
7:01 p.m.
It's a minute earlier and a minute later.
That's our dedication.
I like
But I think we can convince AfterBuzz owners Maria and her husband Kevin to take us down to Beverly Hills one day and
to sponsor the road trip.
And they can test out the products there too.
You know what? I should have. I'm not thinking. I'm really not thinking. But I should have brought in. I should have brought in some juices for you guys tonight. But you know what? After seeing you dump root beer in your mug up there, yeah, I'm calling you out.
Chris Franklin just called me out.
There's still a lot of it left. To her credit,
it's root beer.
It was for show.
My Diet Coke is almost gone.
How often do you see an A&W root beer? You obviously Coke Sprites.
Yeah,
come on.
thank you.
Is A&W a sponsor?
No, so we can't talk about them anymore.
Yeah, well, just for the record, it was mug root beer.
Okay, there you go.
But yeah, I think we can get Maria and Kevin to take us down there. You know,
would be
Let's do it.
They gratefully paid for the UFC pay-per-view for us last night, and many more to come.
What's the address?
252 South Beverly Drive.
All right,
Beverly Hills, California.
That's
Heard
right.
it from Rich
I'll be
himself.
and all you guys let me know when you're going to be there, and I'll tell you what, we'll line up some shots.
I want these guys to try ginger straight up. I know ginger's tough. Ginger's the tough one. Turmeric's okay, but
because that's what the champ. The champ is that it's a 2-ounce shot, and an ounce of it.
I want to see this guy do a shot of ginger and garlic.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Throw some wasabi in there too.
1 ounce of the champ is ginger, and then the other ounce is split between wheatgrass and lemon. It's a tough one.
That's awesome. Well, we're gonna Want to thank you for that. Thank you for telling us all about that, educating us today.
A lot more on the YouTube page in
Absolutely.
a few hours of our trip to our first field trip to his
gonna be
Zealand
great.
shop, and can't wait to tell the second field trip, which may be tomorrow.
Oh, I hope so.
Let me know.
Maria's out of
I'll
town, so
stop
we'll
in
wait till
for
she
sure.
gets back in town.
Okay.
We're going to be back, though.
But
We are
speaking-
going to be back. Rich Franklin, thank you. It's always
Thanks
a
for having
pleasure.
me on. It was my
I
pleasure.
just want to remind you guys, we will be back next week, March 23rd, right after the UFC Fight Night on Fox Sports 1 with Dan Henderson and Shogun Hua. All right, that's the main event. Follow AfterBuzz on Twitter for more info at AfterBuzz TV. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Rich.
And also, we want to thank everybody for being here. And I want to plug something. Listen to me do color commentary for the IBA, the NBA D-League basketball. We're going to have games up in Thousand Oaks at Cal Lutheran and down in Venice Beach, brother.
Well, on March 30th at Club Nokia in downtown LA, the University of MMA, my promotion. We've got 15 matches lined up. Amateur MMA at its best in Southern California. uofmma.com for more info.
Very cool. Just come see us next time, guys, on AfterBuzz.
And just follow me on Twitter for all these Instagram pictures. At Raven1220.
Oh,
At Daria B28.
thanks, everybody.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
See you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.